the pranava. So I finally, it was after I explained that 2 weeks ago, and then I thought about it some more, and I thought, that's why in this particular tradition, we don't chant the pranava until after we've made our, we've chanted our thanks and our respects to the teachers and those who have gone before us, and then the harihi, and then comes the first time that we pronounce that sound. So I just thought that was an interesting thing. Good afternoon, Sandra.
Good afternoon, Leslie. I've lost my glasses, so I've sent my son on a search.
Oh, great. I'm glad your son is there. Yes, it's a hardship for those of us who reach a certain age. Just in time for the invocation. You're always welcome to just follow along without reading if you like. And certainly the reading is helpful, and we won't do call and response. Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnan Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanan Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Yasnya Dvirada Vaktradyaha Parishadya Parashatam Vignan Nignan Satatam Vishvaksenantamashraye Jnananandamayan Devam Nirmalaspatikakritim Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagrivamupassmahe Pundarikaasanasinam Pandurabhrendusannibham Akhanda Bodhajanakam Hayagrivamupassmahe Gurubhyascha Namo Vakamadhimahe Vrnimahe Chatatradyau Dampati Jagatam Pati Shri Krishna Vagisha Yatishvarabhyam Samprapta Chakrankana Bhashya Saram Shri Nutnarangendra Yatau Samarpitasvam Shri Krishna Maryam Guruvaryamide Virodhe Kartike Mase Shatatara Kritodayam Yogacharyam Krishna Maryam Guruvaryamaham Bhaje Shishyakang Krishnamaryasya Nathavam Shapradipakam Kalyana Gunarupantam Shri Deshikam Namamyaham Prashanta Purushakaram Viniyoga Pracharakam Vishesha Vaidikam Surim Tandeshikam Smaramyaham Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Greetings, everyone. Greetings and welcome. Hello, Harmony.
Hi.
In honor of the full moon coming up on Saturday, I'm just chuckling because of a workshop that I took with Bob Gilbo, who's with us today. When we were honoring Ganesha, when it was Ganesha's time to be honored, we were taught that it is not appropriate to chant to the moon. But now we still honor Ganesha in our hearts, but because there's a second full moon coming up in October, I thought it might be imperative to chant the Candranamaskṛtya-mantraḥ. So everyone repeat after me. Chandra, Chandra, Namaskṛtya, Namaskṛtya, mantraḥ, mantraḥ. So I hope that you all have this handout. Not sure how to show this. Anyway. We've worked on it a couple of times before, but it's been a few weeks.
Leslie, can I ask you a question about the Ganesha remark?
Yes, provided Bob can answer because he's the expert more than I am.
So are you saying that one shouldn't chant to Ganesha or one shouldn't chant in general on a full moon?
Oh, no, Ganesha was insulted by the moon. Wasn't he? And I'll leave it at that. And Bob, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, and please feel free to tell us the story.
Well, Leslie and I were presenting a weekend with Mary Riley on Ganesh Chaturthi, which falls on a full moon, but it's considered to be bad luck to look at the moon on Ganesh Chaturthi. So it's not necessarily every full moon, but Ganesh has an interesting relationship with Lord Chandra, because once when he was hurrying home from a festival celebration, riding on his vahana, his vehicle, which is mushika, the mouse or the rat, if you prefer, a snake went across their path and startled him, and the mouse dumped Lord Ganesh, and his stomach burst open, and all of the modakas that he had been eaten all day, the sweets that he loves, fell out onto the floor, and Lord Chandra laughed at him. And so our friend Ganesh, after having gathered up his modaka and put them back into his belly, grabbed the snake that startled them and tied it around his belly, which is why you often see him with a snake around his belly. And he cursed the moon. And one of the versions of the story of how Ganesh lost one of his tusks is that he broke it off and hurled it at the moon and said, you can't have, we will never see your brightness again. And the moon went dark, and so of course all the devas had to come to Lord Ganesh and implore him to make up with the moon. And so he did, but he would not allow him to show in his full glory all the time, but he had to fall into this waxing and waning pattern. It's considered to be not auspicious to look at the moon or to chant to the moon. In some traditions, you don't, for example, in the Krishnamacharya tradition, you don't practice asana on full moon, but it's okay to acknowledge the full moon, just not during Lord Ganesh's special holidays.
That's very interesting.
Is that what you?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that is, having been an Ashtanga a bit at one time, I knew that it was a prohibition against practicing on a full moon, and I don't think I realized where that might have come from. So that's a curiosity.
There are other reasons in the Ashtanga tradition that you don't practice on full moon, which we don't have to go into here. But that's just one aspect of it, which is particularly related to Lord Ganesh and specifically related to his holiday, Ganesh Chaturthi.
Yeah.
Which usually falls in August.
So are we safe to chant to the moon today and to gaze at the full moon on Saturday?
Yes. I mean, it's fine with me.
Okay, if we so desire. It won't bring bad luck because it's not Ganesh Chaturthi.
Well, it's interesting because, we're at the end of Navaratri, which celebrates Durga, and Durga has a special relationship with the moon as well. And she is actually, she and the moon are good pals. So it's probably an auspicious time to do that at this time of year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We're going to recite the krama part of the Candranamaskṛtya-mantraḥ. But before that, I'll chant the entire Samhita. And the Samhita is actually the chant. And then the krama is when we take one word and then chant the second word. And then in the next phrase, we take the second word and that becomes the first word and then the following word. And so it's a way of learning. So the whole Samhita sounds like this. Om Oshadhaya Samvadante Somena Saharagya. But we'll start with the krama. So in call and response, I'll chant each line and then repeat it. So you can repeat it with me. Om Oshadhaya Sam. Om Oshadhaya Samvadante, vadante somena, vadante somena. Somena saha, somena saha, saharajñā, saharajñā, rajñeti, rajñā, rajñeti, rajñā. Are there any questions or observances, anything you'd like to say about this, or would you like to just continue?
Leslie, may I ask, what's your understanding of the repetition of the final line in the krama? So we in the Samhita we have rajñaha, or rather rajñā ending, and in the krama we do saha rajñā followed by rajñeti rajñā. What's your understanding of the?
That is done an awful lot in Vedic chanting, the chanting of some of the Upanishads, certainly the Samhitas, the Aranyakas and things like that. For purposes of learning by heart, they call them the iti line, like in the middle of some of the other chants. When there are longer chants, we'll encounter more of these iti lines, and that sort of puts an end to it. And then we kind of start we start all over again at the next line. So I think it is an instrument for learning the chant. I think it's why that's there.
Okay, so it's actually rajña iti and not rajñeti as in a locative.
Right, yeah, I think it's just
rajña,
declaring
rajña
Rajñā, the king, right? Rajñā iti, Rajñā, in the king, indeed the king. So it kind of makes a statement, doesn't it, of supremacy, the king indeed. And Elizabeth, do you have any understanding, since you've been studying a lot of this Vedic chanting too? Do you have anything to?
Not regarding the last line there. I guess you're right. We do have those iti lines in a number of chants. And I guess I always just thought about them as part of the chant, but you're right. They seem to be, it's like almost like a summarizing in some way, or maybe offering a closing to a certain section of a chant when it occurs within a longer chant.
And since we only see, if my memory serves me correctly, when we study the Vedic chanting, it's only when we are working on a chant that provides us with the krama and the jata and the ghana, when we encounter these, what are called iti lines. So I think it's a learning tool to learn to memorize. And to sort of keep our mind straight and to keep us from being confused, because we can get carried away. Let's chant this all together. Are you ready to chant together with me? Okay, let's chant it all together, and then we'll repeat the chant. And each time we'll begin with Om. Om. Excuse me, I'll clarify. The krama, we're going to chant the krama twice through. Om. Oshadaya sam Samvadante, vadante somena, somena saha, saharajñā, rajyeti rajñā. And we'll repeat. I'll raise the pitch. Om. Oshadhayasam samvadante, vadante somena, somena saha, saharajñā, rajyeti rajñā. Did that feel like it was coming? Some ease was coming for all of you? Now let's move back to the Samhita. So now let's chant that whole line. Again, we'll start with Om. Om. Oshadhaya samvadante, somena saharajñā. Again. Om. Oshadhaya samvadante, somena saharajñā. How did that come for everyone? Are there any questions here? Thumbs up for Patty. Good. Okay. Now I'd like to have some fun. Everybody unmute yourselves because I'm just dying to hear you. I've been so lonely these last few weeks. So we're just going to have a little fun with this before we move on to the Bhagavad Gita. So let's move on to the Krama again. And each one of you in turn. So I'll start. So it'll be Elizabeth will take the first line. Andy will take the second line. Then let's see who's next. Okay. Yeah, okay. We'll get Andy to take the second line. Bob will take the third line. Sandra, the fourth line. Harmony, the fifth line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Patty, the sixth. Then we'll start over. And then after Patty, let's see who. Lisa will take line number 1. Jean will take line number 2. And then I'll take 3. And then we'll start at the beginning again. Let's just see what happens. Okay, do you all have your number?
I forgot mine.
Oh, which one?
You're
Okay,
5.
so
You're before me, right?
5?
You're 5
Okay.
before me.
okay, great. Okay, everybody unmuted. Okay, here we go. So even though it's going to sound strange, we'll all chant Om together.
Oshadhaya sam
Samvadante,
Vadante somena,
somena saha,
Saharajñā,
Rajñeti rajñā.
Is it Lisa's turn? Okay, Lisa. Oh, so Lisa chant Om and then O Shadhaya Sam. Can you unmute yourself?
She's unmuted, but it's the audio isn't coming through.
Oh.
No. No, we'll just skip her for now.
Okay, you're very quiet today, Lisa. Jean?
Wait,
I'm not very good. I'm not really good at this, so
That's
Oh,
okay. Nobody is.
that's as good as I can do for that line.
Okay,
so.
I didn't hear you though, and now I can hear you. So which line were you doing? Were you doing the second one?
No, actually, I decided to do the first one since Lisa
Okay.
couldn't do it.
Oh, good. Do the first one. Start with Om. Thank you. Was that everyone?
Yes.
Okay. A word about the length. So let's all do it again and mute yourselves, and we'll go back and I'll do it again and see if you can refine the melody, which means you're refining the swara. When we go up in pitch, when we're in the middle, and when we go down. And remember, when you see the vertical stroke, like for example, let's take that first line, O Shadhaya Sam. So O is in the middle. So when we chant Om, Om gives us the middle note. So then it's Om. And the letter O is the first syllable. There's no chant mark. So O for O Shadhaya stays in the same range as where Om was. And then do you see the vertical stroke above the letter A for Sha? That's telling us to move up in pitch. And then Dha, D-H-A, there's no swara mark, so we go back to the middle again. And then after that, we have the Y-A. That line below the A tells us to move down in pitch. And then we go back to the middle. So sometimes the explanation can be clarifying and sometimes the explanation can be confusing. So just listen again, read carefully and just listen. And then repeat after me.
Leslie, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you just make the note about the third line? Because that's like, it doesn't go with the rules,
Yes,
so it might be
on the
confusing.
third line, when we have 3 low notes in a row, like on Vadante, do you all see that? The horizontal strokes underneath the and the next and the A. What we were taught is that it's kind of a fun thing to do. So repeat that after me. You can keep yourselves muted. Vadante, or I'll raise the pitch. Well, actually do it that pitch. Vadante. And that was a little low for me, so I'm going to go higher. Vadante, Vadante. But that's in relationship to the middle note, which was Samvadante, Vadante. Do that with me a couple of times, those 2 lines. Samvadante, Vadante somena. One more time. Samvadante, Vadante somena. How's that coming for you? Are you starting to sound like me and better? I hope. So we'll do this in call and response and see if you can pick out the high notes and the low notes and the middle notes as well as the pronunciation. There's so much asked of us, isn't there? So we'll do call and response again. Om. O Shanti. Shadhaya Sam. O Shadhaya Sam. Samvadante. Samvadante. Vadante somena. Vadante somena. Somena saha. Somena saha. Saharagnya. Saharagnya. Ragyeti ragnya. Ragyeti ragnya. So if that went better for you, put your thumbs up. If it went worse, put your thumbs down. And I'll turn a blind eye. Let's leave it at that and move on to our beloved Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2.
I have a question to ask. This is in the category
Andy.
of things that probably are obvious to others. So with that last chant that we were doing, what's really the difference with how we're speaking or how we are singing versus chanting? What is the definition of the two with what we're doing here? Because it seemed more like we were singing than chanting with those inflection points.
It seemed like we were singing rather than chanting. What? I just missed your last words.
It's more like singing instruction than chanting instruction to me.
Because there are different notes. Is that why?
Yeah.
Yeah. In Vedic chanting, and this is considered part of the Vedic chant repertoire, there are only, in the ancient Sanskrit Vedic chanting, there are always only a possibility of 3 notes. There will never be more, except, and then there's always an exception. I think at the end, sometimes I think in the Taittiriya Upanishad, there was something going on that was a little extra low or something. And then with that Vadante, it's a little strange. The chanting employs understanding of pitch, which we call svara. There's a beautiful line in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Matra balam samasantanaha. Matra balam samasantanaha. And I forgot. And my mind went a blank. There's something else, but I can't remember what it is. Excuse me, I did it wrong. Varna swaraha matra balam samasantanaha. So matra is the meter, the length, duration of time, matra balam. And balam is the strength. So we have matra, which is the metrics of it, or the amount of time we're giving each note. Balam is a force that comes up. Some notes are given more force than others. So these are the rules. Matra balam, sama santanaha. These two are before that is varna. In the beginning is varna. Varna is pronunciation. Varna is knowing that there are 5 mouth positions and which mouth position and how to shape the tongue so that we are producing a particular sound. Varna. Svara is the pitch. So it's on one of those 3 notes. Then there's matra, which is the meter or the length of time. And matra, balam is the strength. Sama and santana have to do with continuity and the ability to go from a low note to a high note, let's say, with ease and fluidity. Elizabeth, is there anything you wish to add to that? Okay. Okay. So these are, as I say, that verse, and I'll teach it to you next week. If you like, I'll put that in writing so that we can learn that. It's a good verse to learn. These are the rules of chanting. So this, it's kind of a cryptic definition of chant. Now, my experience tells me that a main difference for me between chanting and singing is that, of course, in the Western repertoire, we have more notes than just 3. But also in Western singing anyway, there's a vibrata. Matra balam. That's not done in Vedic chant, to be sure. But there's a vibrata. What we try to do in Vedic chant in particular is to not have any vibrata. And how we achieve that, I remember this because Menaka was actually teaching Sonia, and Sonia had a lovely vibrata, a slight vibrata in her sound. Matra balam. And Sonia would encourage her, and she encouraged all of us to put it through the nose, make it more nasal. Matra balam. That keeps it more one sound. It doesn't waver at all. So if we want to eliminate any wavering or any vibrata, then we think bring it out through the nose, through the nasal sound. That helps. Now with Bhagavad Gita, it's called the Song of the Lord, or Bhagavad. And Bob, I think, I don't know if you agree with Edwin, but I keep remembering now what Edwin said was he never liked the translation of the Blessed Lord, which is Bhagavan. That's how it's usually translated. He would say the possessor of qualities. But anyway, so Gita definitely means song. And there's more of a lilting. There's more of a lilting feeling. In Vedic chant, we try to sit upright and we try to be still. Our vehicle is still while the notes move. And Elizabeth has something to say. Please unmute yourself.
I was just going to say, at least I was thinking of this in response to Andy's question, that I think that the chants that we do out of the tradition from Desikachar, it's a full note difference. And in other chanting, I've heard, and I've heard here too from people in the Iyengar and Ashtanga traditions, it seems like it's more half note. And that seems to me probably, it's more like what we're used to as chanting as opposed to the whole note difference. And that may also be why it sounds more like music as opposed to chanting.
Thank you so much. Yes, yeah. And maybe that's what's confusing you, Andy. For example, we could have chanted So the way we chanted Oshadhaya Sam, just that first line is Oshadhaya Sam. But what Elizabeth was recalling is that it could be chanted Oshadhaya Sam Samvadante Vadante Somena. But we were taught in Desikachar's tradition, Oshadhayas. So we just take it up a full note. That high note makes the difference. In many traditions, it's a half note. I don't know if that,
Okay,
and
that's
it's
helpful.
yeah.
Thank you.
It might be interesting, Leslie, just to point out though that the rules for all of this come from the Samaveda. So of the 4 Vedas, the oldest of which is the Rig Veda, following that is the Samaveda, which is, I would say, 80 to 90% of the textual content is identical with the Rig Veda, but it is set to meter and for the specific purpose of chanting. So Andy, some of the what might sound more like we think of as chanting in the West, you often hear that when people chant the Rig Veda without the meter, without the svara, without the matra of the Vedic chanting that Leslie's presenting. So that's where it comes from. Is from the Samaveda. It is possible to chant these verses without that, but the tradition as it comes to us largely is through the Samaveda.
Thank you for making that distinction.
Thank you.
That's interesting in itself, isn't it? That the Samaveda is the Rig Veda, but chanted. Is that right? Did I understand that correctly? Yeah. And then later on, here we come up with the Bhagavad Gita, which is part of the Mahabharata. And Bob, I've been telling everyone, so please correct me if this is a misunderstanding on my part. I've been telling everyone we can apply any melody that we like, really, as long as we're honoring the right pronunciation. I mean, there are traditional, tunes that we've heard. And I've been sticking with what I learned first from Vyas Houston, just because that was the first way I learned it. Let's go back to verse 28. We finished at 29, but that's in the Trishtub. So let's, we won't do call and response for 28 and 29, but let's just review and chant it together. So I'll begin with Om. Om. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktanidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. And then new meter. Ashcharyavat pashyati kashchidenam. Ashcharyavad vadati tathaiva chanyaha. Ashcharyavat shainamanyah shrunoti. Shrutvapyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. So do you have any question on that before we move on? Gina, I think you weren't here last week, so if you want to go over anything, that's all right. Otherwise, we'll just go on to verse number 30. Verse number 30, good? Should we thumbs up or? Okay. Om Dehi Nityam Avadhyoyam Dehe Sarvasya Bharata Tasmat sarvani bhutani natvan shochitum arhasi. So now I'll break it down one line at a time, call and response. Om Dehi Nityamavadhyoyam. Om Dehi Nityamavadhyoyam. Dehe sarvasya bharata. Dehe sarvasya bharata. Tasmat sarvani bhutani. Tasmat sarvani bhutani. Natvan shochitum arhasi. Natvan shochitum arhasi. Now we'll do 2 lines, call and response. Om Dehi Nityamavadhyoyam. Dehe sarvasya bharata. Om Dehi Nityamavadhyoyam. Dehe sarvasya bharata. Tasmat sarvani bhutani. Natvan shochitum arhasi. Tasmat sarvani bhutani. Natvan shochitum arhasi. And now the entire verse. Om Dehi Nityamavadhyoyam. Dehe sarvasya bharata. Tasmat sarvani bhutani. Natvan shochitum arhasi. Is that coming well? Good. And now a little translation. I'll move to Sergeant because, and so here, if you have any question on any individual word or anything at all, anything to say at all, always good. Sergeant's translation. Dehi nityamavadhyoyam, and perceiving your own caste duty or caste duty. Dehe sarvasya bharata. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I did it wrong. Wait. 30. Okay. This, the embodied self. I'm sorry, everyone, I was just off. Number 30. Dehi nityamavadhyoyam. Dehe sarvasya bharata. This, the embodied self, the Dehi, is eternally indestructible. Ayam. In the body of all, Arjuna. And then tasmat sarvani bhutani natvan shochitum arhasi. Therefore, you should not mourn for any being. Shall we move on to 31? Or would anyone, if anyone has a different translation handy, please read it to us. So we
I
get a
just
different.
have a quick question. Does this imply that the self or the light is that it lives in all beings, not just humans, right?
Can I read you my translation in response to your question? Because
Yes,
it does
please.
say, O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any creature.
Could you repeat that, please? I missed it.
O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any creature.
Thank you.
Patty, whose translation is that?
This is my thrift store find.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I would just say, Elizabeth, because he's using the word Bhutani. Bhutas are all kinds of creatures. Sarva Bhutani encompasses all embodied beings. So I think there's a case to be made for the fact that we're not just talking about humans here. I mean, he uses the word dehe and dehin. The dehin is the possessor of the body, but because he says sarvani bhutani, which is all embodied beings, not everyone would agree with this, but I think you could make a case for the fact that it's speaking to non-humans as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. It's very helpful. Number 31. Swadharmamapi chavekshya navikampitum dharmyadhi yuddhachreyonyat kshatriyasya navidyate. Line by line. Om Swadharmamapi chavekshya. Om Swadharmamapi chavekshya navikampitum dharmyadhi yuddhachreyonyat dharmyadhi yuddha having a hard time here myself. Dharmyadhi yuddhachreyonyat kshatriyasya navidyate. Kshatriyasya navidyate. 2 lines. Om Swadharmamapi chavekshya navikampitum Om Swadharmamapi chavekshya navikampitum dharmyadhi yuddhachreyonyat kshatriyasya navidyate. Dharmyadhi yuddhachreyonyat kshatriyasya navidyate. Let's do the whole verse together. Om Swadharmamapi chavekshya navikampitum dharmyadhiyudhachreyonyat kshatriyasya navidyate. What a mouthful. Now it's 31. And perceiving your own caste duty, you should not tremble. Indeed, anything superior to righteous battle does not exist for the kshatriya. The kshatriya is that warrior caste, the man of warrior caste, the kshatriya. And Arjuna is a kshatriya. I have Graham Schweig's, and this particular verse, moreover, considering your own dharma, his dharma is that the dharma of the kshatriya caste, you should not waver. Truly, for a warrior, nothing better exists than a battle fought according to dharma. So that word dharma is in there. Any other contribution to translation? I happen to know that this is a favorite translation of Bob's.
I'll read mine.
Please do.
Considering your specific duty as Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
Does anyone else have anything to add? Shall we chant the next verse? Thumbs up for yes. Okay. Yat om yadrichaya chopannam. Oh, sorry. Yadrichaya chopapannam svargadvaramapavritam sukhinah kshatriyah partha labhante yuddhamidrisham. Let's try 2 lines at a time. Are you game for that? 2 lines at a time? Okay, here we go. Om yadrichaya chopapannam svargadvaramapavritam. Om yadrichaya chopapannam svargadvaramapavritam sukhinah kshatriyah partha labhante yuddhamidrisham. Sukhinah kshatriyah partha labhante yuddhamidrisham. So now the whole verse all together. Om yadrichaya chopapannam svargadvaramavavritam. Sorry. Svargadvaramapavritam sukhinah kshatriyah partha labhante yudham, labhante yudhamidrisham. And if by good fortune they gain the open gate of heaven, happy are the kshatriyas, Arjuna, when they encounter such a fight. Patty, would you like to read yours?
Gladly. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
And Graham Schweig says, and if by good fortune what is gained is an opened door, the dvar means door, to the celestial world, happy are the warriors, O Partha, son of Priti, who obtain such a fight.
Leslie, may I ask a question about pronunciation?
Yes.
In the third line, how are you handling those anusvara in the middle of the verse?
I am
Sukinaha
following.
kshatriyata.
Yeah, that's right. There are two. I'm following what we have done with Sonia in the Vedic chant. So the first visarga is in the throat. Sukhina kshatriya. But what I'm trying to do in the second one, so again, the first one, Sukhina ksha. Everyone do that with me. Sukhina ksha. Sukhina kshatriya. And now what I'm trying to do is what I believe Desikachar may have taught us is that, and what Sonia is doing now, at least in Vedic chant, and I'm applying this to Bhagavad Gita, this visarga would be at the lips because the next sound begins at the lips. So the idea is to make it easier, but it might be harder. Kshatriya Partha. Kshatriya Partha. So whenever the visarga precedes a P, especially a P, but also a B, then we treat the visarga as though we were blowing a feather. Kshatriya Partha. So then we end up with Sukhina Kshatriya Partha. However, I first learned this all at the throat. Sukhina Kshatriya Partha. It's my understanding today that we have a choice there.
Thank you.
$33. Om Athache Twamiman Dharmyam Sangramanna Karishyasi Tatasvadharman Kirtincha Hitva Papamavapsyasi. 2 lines at a time, call and response. Om Athache Twamiman Dharmyam Sangramanna Karishyasi. Om Atha chet tvamimam dharmyam sangraman na karishyasi tatasva dharmam kirtincha hitva papamavapsyasi. Tatasva dharmam kirtincha hitva papamavapsyasi. Now let's try the entire verse. Om Atha chet tvamivam dharmyam sangraman na karishyasi tatasva dharmam kirtincha hitva papamavapsyasi. My book is broke. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. My poor Sergeant book. It's in two pieces now. Now, Atha, there we have Atha Yoga Nushasanam, in case anybody forgot. Now, if you will not undertake this righteous war, thereupon, having avoided your own duty and glory, you shall incur evil. Patty, since you seem ready with the translation.
I'm ready. If, however, you do not fight this religious war, then you will certainly incur sin for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
Graham Schweig says, then, abandoning your own dharma and reputation, you shall meet with misfortune. Now, if you should not undertake this battle, which is in accordance with dharma, then abandoning your own dharma and reputation, you shall meet with misfortune. I understand why you like Graham Schweig's translation.
I think it's interesting because he uses this technique, which you wouldn't think would be effective at all, which is to present the ideas in English in the same order in which they appear in the Sanskrit.
Yeah.
So it makes your mind go on a journey that's very similar to the Sanskrit. That's one of the reasons that I like it.
No wonder. Yeah, that's great. Because if you were to undertake the study of Sanskrit, you'll find that the order of a sentence is often not like the order of our sentences in English. But thank you for that. Well, we may as well continue chanting what the other consequences are going to be. Let's get done with this part. Okay. So then, next verse. Number 34, right? Is that right? Okay. Akirtin, okay. Om Akirtin chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakirtir Maranaratirichyate. 2 lines at a time. Om Akirtin chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam. Om Akirtin chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakirtir maranadatirichyate sambhavitasya chakirtir maranadatirichyate. It's like a marinade. Maranadatirichyate. And also, people, bhutani, people will relate your undying infamy. Relate. They will, it's kathayishyanti, they will relate, or they will tell. Katha, kat means to tell, to relate. And for one who has been honored, disgrace is worse than dying. Better to die having done your dharma than be disgraced because you're not doing your dharma. Wow. That's, to me, is a very powerful utterance, very powerful statement. Some of the other Patty, would you give us yours?
Yes. People will always speak of your infamy, and for one who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death. That doesn't seem to really get across the point of the Dharma too much, does it?
Well, read it again.
People will always speak of your infamy. People will always speak of your infamy, and for one who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death.
Yeah, the dishonor is worse than death. And Graham Schweig's also, people will certainly speak of your undying infamy. Whew. And for one who has been honored, so for one who has already been honored, such infamy is worse than death. Well, he goes on for a few more verses in the negative. I wanted to end on a positive note. Well, we may as well go deeper into this. Should we chant one more? Okay. Ooh, oh, it's getting to be late. Are you all all right with chanting one more? All right, okay. Okay, so we're on 35, are we? I'm a little, the day is kind of done for me, but anyway. You know what? Let's challenge ourselves. Let's chant the entire verse twice through without any call and respond. Let's just do it, okay? Om Bhayadranaduparatam Mansyante Tvam Maharataha Yeshancha Tvam Bahumato Bhutva Yasyasi Laghavam. Twice more. Om Bhayadranaduparatam Mansyante Tvam Maharataha Yeshancha Tvam Bahumato Bhutva Yasyasi Laghavam. Om Bhayadranaduparatam Mansyante Tvam Maharataha Yeshancha Tvam Bahumato Bhutva Yasyasi Laghavam. the great warriors will think that you have abstained from the battle through fear. Ah, coward. And among those by whom you have been held in, and among those by whom you have been held in high esteem, you shall come to be held lightly. Ooh, a person of no consequence. Patty, what does yours say?
The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you a coward.
Graham Schweigs. The great chariot warriors will believe you have retreated from battle out of fear. And among those who once held you in high esteem, you shall come to be taken lightly. Which I guess also could be taken to mean he'll be, taken lightly and then forgotten. It's no big deal. We've gone over time. I want to end with a positive note. So could we go back to Ascharyavat? Let's go back to Ascharyavat, number 29, I believe that is. So at least it's a wonder. So the eternal soul. Let's chant this twice through. Om Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha Ascharyavat shainam anyaha Shrinoti Shrutvapyenam Veda Nachaiva Kaschit. Om Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha Ascharyavat shainamanyaha Shrinoti Shrutvapyenam Veda Nachaiva Kaschita. And that Visarga, I tend to run out of breath, but in that third line, Ascharyavat shainamanya Shrinoti. So if I remember to take a large breath, that's what I would prefer to do. I think that's the preferred way to chant that Visarga. In our Candranamaskṛtya, the particular file that I set out today, there's a third page and it has the pūrṇam chant on it. So there are two different swara ways. I've learned it two different ways. There's one way that's in our chant book, which is the second way. And there's another way that we were taught, which is the first way. So let's do the first way. So the only difference in the two pūrṇam is the svara, are the svara marks. I think we can do this all together. We'll do it twice through. Om Pūrṇam Pūrṇamidam Pūrṇāt Pūrṇamudachyate Pūrṇasya Pūrṇamadaya Pūrṇamevavashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And once more. Om Purnamadaḥ Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And for our chant for forgiveness, the last page on that other one, the last page on the file that has the invocations, the prarthana. So on the very last page, Kshama Shlokaha. All together. Yadaksharapada Brashtam Matrahinantu Yad Bhavet Tatsarvang Kshamyatan Deva Narayana Namostute Shrimate Narayanaya Namo Namaha Kayena Vacha Manasendriyairva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Svabhavat Karomi Yadyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayana Yeti Samharpayami Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Harihi Om. Thank you, one and all, and I ask you all as well for my many, many mistakes and my learning process as well.
Thank you,
Remember-
Leslie.
Oh, Bob, thank you so much. And I want to take care never to take advantage of you because you, but it's wonderful when you add, your expertise to this and giving us a little more understanding of things.
Yes, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you, Elizabeth, for clarifying things too. Thank you, everyone, for asking questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
everyone.
And I'm free to stay on for questions if you like.
I need to
Sandra,
run,
it's good
but
to see your sons there. Thank you, Anne.
Yes,
Namaste.
thank you. I'm afraid I have to go.
Okay, namaste. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful day, Lisa.
Oh, is Lisa there? I think
She's
she left.
gone?
Yeah.
Okay, she's on with her day.
Yeah, she's off and running.
Yeah. So-
Hopefully next week we'll get through all the negative parts.
Okay, well, thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and
Thank
thank you for
you.
reminding us all about that difference between chanting and singing. That made a lot of sense. Yeah, that was helpful.
Yes, and your very insightful question that
Yeah.
sparked an interesting
Yeah, I
conversation.
love that coming. Yes. So great. Well, thank you, Patty.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lovely Tuesday once again.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Mwah. Patty, many, many thanks.
And same to you.
Takes me about 2 days to get to recover.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does, but it's really so wonderful for all of us to have this kind of outlet, you know.
I'm so
And then I
glad.
have my class tonight from 9 to 11:30. So it
Oh
gives
my
me,
goodness. The one,
yeah, the grad school
yeah,
thing.
the grad school. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Patty, that's so good. You're doing a lot. So how many days a week are you teaching at the Angel Wing?
4. Well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, so this all came about because of Winnie going to the Waldorf school, because I figured the Shala is like halfway between. And I
Yeah.
don't want to go to a random studio up there. I would love to just rent the space there. So I talked to Christy from the Angel Co-op and I asked her about 4 different times and she's like, those are all available. I said, okay, I'll take 2 of them. And she said, well, why don't you take all 4? And you can pay for 2 and just see how it goes. And then if you
Oh,
decide,
how
isn't that so
nice.
nice?
Yeah,
nice.
that's very nice. So what are
They've
your
always
times?
been so nice.
So you're there on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Tuesday, 9:30 to 10:45, I'll do half primary. And then Wednesday at noon. And I'll do, I don't know if you know who Matthew Sweeney is, but
Boy, he sounds familiar, but
he's an Ashtanga teacher, but he kind of went and he created these other sequences that are very therapeutic, kind of alternative for
yeah.
days that you're maybe not feeling like doing such a fiery practice, and or if you're injured and you're coming back, he does like these really amazing sequences. So I kind of do a class based on some of his teachings on Wednesday at noon, and then it's also a little more approachable for people that might not be familiar with the sequence.
Yeah. Oh, that's
It's
great.
kind of challenging. And then Thursday at 9:30 to 10:30, and then Friday I'm going to do like a set song and have just like not from 10:30 to 12. And then if anybody wants to come, if they want to practice like Mysore style, or if they want to meditate, or if they want to just read or whatever, they can just come.
So that's in studio as well, but you're also Zooming as well?
Yes, I'll Zoom. I won't Zoom the Friday set song. I won't do that. But the other ones, I'll just have my computer set up. And if people want to sign up for the Zoom, they can do it on Zoom or they can come to the studio.
That's great.
And then listen to this. So I asked Val today if I rented the space on Sunday morning, if I could live stream her class that she teaches in Florida at 8 a.m. that she used to teach that class at the Shala. If I live stream it from the Shala and get people to come together and do her class that she's live streaming.
Fantastic. So people would be watching it they'd be Zooming with her from the Shala.
Yeah, we could all come together. And then I'm going to try and get my big, like I have an older desktop computer that has a bigger screen. So if I could get that and set that up in the front, and then people could come and do it together. Because some people from up here I do it sometimes on Sunday. And then I see like Nancy, like different people come.
Yeah.
So if everybody could come, and then it would be like the old days.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be great. And Rebecca will probably want to come too.
Oh, I'm sure Janelle will come. And I mean, I know a lot of people would like to do that.
Fantastic.
So,
and I bet that just makes Val feel so good.
Oh,
how's she doing?
Well, I did take her class this past Sunday, which was so nice. And I had 2 of my students come to take her class for the first time.
Oh, fantastic.
That they've been practicing for a while. So they're learning the sequence, and it's their first time doing full primary. So it was like, come to this class and you can try and do full primary. And it was just lovely.
Oh,
she's so great.
Wow. That is fantastic. Well, I'm glad. Just stay safe. Just stay safe. Keep your...
Yeah, they have all of the protocols in order. They have like an air filter. They're installing like an air filter that has UV light in it so that it's like purifying the air with UV as it filters it through. And then the max is 10 people. I put it at 8 though for my classes.
Good.
But I went there today, and it really is a large space.
Yeah,
you can
it is.
definitely safely have 8 people in there at once. So then the rule is like masks until you get on your mat. Yeah. And then once you're on your mat, if you want, you can take your mask off. But if you go to the bathroom or anything else, you have to put it back on.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. And kudos to the Angel ladies for giving you a discount. I'm very pleased to hear that.
That was so nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm
hopefully
sure they
it
like
does
having
help.
the space used. Oh, I wanted to ask you the other day, I hope I emailed you correctly. Did you get an email from me asking to add, there were two different emails, one for adding
Yes.
Tristan Binns and the other to add Rebecca Gray.
So I
just wanted-
did put them on the email I sent today. I just didn't individually answer those emails because with all this Angel Co-op thing, it's all
Oh,
been a little
great.
crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
But I realized today in class, I'm like, oh, I mean, I did include them on the email, but then I never replied directly. And I know that we had talked about sending new people the link to the one class so they could kind of familiarize themselves with it. But it seemed like, I don't know, Rebecca Gray knows you because she's your website person,
Yeah.
right? So-
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Tristan, you know, personally. So it just seemed like I didn't have to do that because they weren't Alice and West people.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. But my thinking was Rebecca's going to completely overhaul my website. We're going through a different.
Oh, good.
I've been using DreamHost, but I'm using she's having me do somebody else yet. And she's working on that, and she has to send me a proposal and stuff. And I might embark on giving some Sanskrit workshops, but that's a little intimidating because I feel like I don't know enough. But anyway, she's in the process of helping me to, redo the website. But right now, I'm not sure if I can directly send her that. I can send her the files. I just don't know if I have the know-how to send her any of the classes. And she told me this is a
That's
bad
easy,
time
yeah.
for her, but it'd be easier for her to get the classes from you. So as long as she's hooked
That's
up with
fine.
you, that she can request them and then you can send it to her at some
Well,
point.
here's the other thing that I have kind of on the back burner because I'm sorting out my own website. I just worked for like 2 days nonstop on my own website with this new class schedule stuff.
Oh my.
But I asked a friend of mine who used to be a video editor, and now she's also a field hockey coach, but she works at a private school locally at King. It's like a private school. I think it's down Sanford area. But so I asked her if she knew anybody that would want to intern to do some editing. And she actually has a boy and a girl twins at her school in the high school that would do the editing of the video. So I was thinking we could just trim them, make them neater, trim down like certain chants. So it's just a clip of you leading, like say if we did like a verse of the Bhagavad Gita, like just cut it down to do the call and response and then just make it that. So there's not all the talking and everything in between.
Yeah.
We can keep the classes as a class and some people might want to watch the whole class, but if you just want to reference a certain particular chant, then it'll be easier to find it rather than trying to go through the whole class and all that stuff.
Yeah. Patty, this is magic. Thank you so much.
So
this
cool,
is
right?
great.
I know.
Wow.
So and then I can buy this
I'll
external
have to
hard
dream
drive.
up a nice gift to give the twins.
Oh yeah, well let's let them do the work first and then
Okay, we'll see what happens. Yeah, they may love it, they may hate it. Who knows?
I'm just thinking like, how would I even explain it to them? Like they don't know anything about Sanskrit most likely. Like, so I'm like kind of stewing
And
about.
how old are they?
They're in high school.
They're in high school.
maybe
They're teenagers,
juniors.
and they have to. God,
I know.
listen to and watch a bunch of old fogies. This old woman teaching chanting. God,
They have no idea
less
what
exciting for them.
sacred lessons will become embedded in them.
Well,
But
great.
I mean, I will tell you, I actually used to work in film and TV, and I used to do internships like that, editing, like just logging video hours of footage. So boring logging. I mean, they get to actually edit something that's interesting because they get to play with the software and
But you have to
program.
But before you have to watch so much. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I used to do way more boring where you're just typing out, Joe walks into the room. Joe greets Leslie. Like it's very boring. So this is not as boring as that.
Good.
Better.
Wow. Well, you are amazing. The light's just going on. Okay.
Well, yeah, Rory just turned the light on for me. He's like always doing the lighting in the house. He sees me sitting in the dark here.
Good
It's
idea.
getting dark so early.
I know. It looks like it's light outside where you are, but I'm sure it's as dark as where we are. And I'm facing north and it's very dark.
I'm just backlit here, so it looks brighter. Anyway,
Anyway, thank you.
I'll go
so
get some
much.
dinner.
Have a wonderful
Thank
evening.
you. You too. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Leslie.
Bye-bye.